Massage therapist or masseuse, have you ever had a session turned sexual with a client? How did it go down? Story 1. Former aesthetician here. Not a masseuse, but I performed waxing on all parts of the body, so I certainly have a story or two. So there's the Brazilian wax, which is everything gone from your downstairs, front, and back. Salons have a male version they cheekily like to call menzilians. I've had a number of these, and without fail, when it comes time to take the towel away and start, there's at least a semi-chub going on. I'd explain that this happens with everyone, as PPs aren't very self-aware. They just know they are out, there's a lady, and they are just happy to be there. I'd then place my first strip of wax, let it set, then rip, and it would be like letting the air out of a balloon. Strangely, I never got any phone numbers. Oh, and to do your butthole, you have to be on all fours. Story 2. When I was a teenager, my friend's mom was a massage therapist. One day when I went over there to hang out, she had a brand new RAV4 in the driveway. Me and my other friends always made jokes about how she gave happy endings, riffing off what her job was. Your mom jokes were popular for us back then. Well, when we started asking him how his mom got a brand new $35K premium package Toyota RAV4, he told us one of his mom's clients gave it to her for free. The jokes suddenly were too awkward to tell anymore. Story 3. My massage therapist told me of a time a very hot woman was in for the first time. He told her to undress to her comfort level and left her to do so. Usually at this point you then lay down under the sheet, but he entered a few minutes later to find her sitting naked in a chair asking what she should do next. He gives more detailed instructions now. Story 4. I have a story as a client. I used to live in a great city located in Southern California. Across the street where I lived was a massage parlor that ran out of an old historic home. I used to frequent as much as I could afford and things were great, or so I thought. I had never been to a masseuse before then and thought big tubs, showers, and champagne was normal since it was the only point of reference I had. After each session I had, the ladies frequently asked me if I needed anything else or wanted to extend. Being very budget conscious, I'd say, no thank you. It was great though. I'd get dressed and go home. On my last occasion though, things just felt official. She had me flip for my stomach and massaged my quads and let her fingers drift a little and would ask me if I wanted anything more. I'd sheepishly reply, no, this is great, thank you. As we finished, she asked me one more time if I'd like anything else, but I declined. A few weeks later I'm walking home from work and the police are all over my street. As you may have already guessed, they were busting the place for being a known brothel. I tiptoed back home and waited for them to come to my house and bust me, but thankfully that never happened. Meanwhile, all of your neighbors saw you frequent the joint and have labeled you the town perv. Story 5. My mom is a massage therapist. She has worked at several chiropractic offices. Oftentimes, if you're good enough and trustworthy enough, the chiropractors will give you the keys so you can see clients on the weekends. I once had to take an Uber to her work when she was scheduled to massage this one guy. He was married and new to the US. He had been sending messages to my mom which made her question his intent but chalked it up to him not speaking a lot of English. I get a call from her telling me to Uber to her place of work as soon as possible. Apparently the guy has sent a message with this quote phrase that in the massage world means things are going to become sexual. So I'm first to arrive. My mom gets there and tries to downplay this situation to make herself feel better by saying things like, well, maybe he just didn't know what that meant. I could be drawing a conclusion that isn't true. He has a wife after all. The man comes in with candy and flowers. He sees me sitting in the chair really confused. Hands them to my mom. She massages him. He pays her, gives me a sideways glance, and leaves. Story 6. I'm a physiotherapist, but I have extensive training in deep tissue massage and dry needling. Pretty much every time I treat my girlfriend it ends with sex. Probably the closest thing to an answer you're going to get. You're probably not going to hear any stories about people with licenses doing anything sexual with someone, as if it ever got out they would immediately lose their billing number. But I will say I've worked in a gym before where the registered massage therapist was sleeping with a few of his patients in and outside of the gym. Story 7. My mom's a masseuse, and she says there are a lot of instances where clients try to make things sexual but she never reciprocates. But it can get pretty nasty. One time she told me that a dude asked her to massage down there and she refused, so he grabbed her boob and just kept his hand there for a while, and my mom didn't know what to, she just kept doing her job. There are also instances of people calling to make appointments and ending the call with like, "Do you guys suck it?" Because I guess they think they are being subtle. Other than that, there's a lot of unnecessarily sexual moaning, but my mom just thinks that's funny. Story 8. Alright, so I used to work at this massage in Florida. It wasn't anything fancy, but it did the job. And we had a couple of regulars that would come in maybe once a week. So this one regular that always asked for me came in one day, and we started the usual small talk while I was prepping my things. And he says that he just recently got out of a really bad marriage. Her massage place isn't one that does happy endings, but I've given a hand job to a client before. So this guy isn't bad looking. Maybe 7 out of 10. Good job, nice car. He always tips nicely. So towards the end of the massage he asks if he could get extra. I was confused at first and said you can always get shampoo or go in our massage chair for extra money. He said no, I mean can you do something extra? At this point I know what he meant and I smirk. So he flipped over to lay on his back and face me, and I went to whisper in his ear, "Epstein didn't kill himself." Story 9. I have a different side of story. I was about 15 years old when that happened, and it still gives me the creeps. After a car accident I was assigned a massage therapist to massage my shoulder since it was injured. Nothing else, just my hand and shoulder. So I come to this session, and I see this really young guy waiting for me. I asked him can I keep my clothes, and he said that I should be in my underwear. Already felt weird, but whatever, I carried on. So I lay on the table and he massages me when suddenly he starts massaging my back, then lower back. I already felt super uncomfortable at this point. And then he pulls a bit of my underwear. And think of the fact that his hands were really oily. He slipped his hand right in between my ass. It was almost the end of the session, and it did not last long, but I was so shocked that I froze. I dressed up and went to the reception to cancel any sessions with him. I did not report the accident. All the receptionist said, "What went wrong?" The old ladies love this guy. You will make one happy by giving your space. Story 10. My wife had a male client who after the session decided to jerk off when she left him to allow him to get dressed. She saw he had jerked off all her massage table and had gone through a lot of tissues trying to clean it up. So the salon issued a warning on his account to remove all tissues and towels from the room once the massage is done. My wife said it was the funniest thing when he came in again. After the massage, she calls the front desk and 2 girls come in and takes everything out of the room. He got dressed really fast and left in shame and never came back. Story 11. I had a very sweet female client face up and was massaging through her neck and occipital, the base of her skull. When she leaned her face over and kind of pressed her cheek into my forearm and side and nuzzled against me. She's just someone who totally zones out during massage. So while it wasn't overtly sexual, it certainly was an unusually intimate gesture. She snapped out of it when I adjusted myself away from her cheek ASAP without being jarring, and blushed with immediate embarrassment. Other than that, I have a few clients, male and female, who make oddly sexual noises but no other obvious signs of arousal. With some of them, I'm prepared for the worst when I ask them to turn over onto their backs. I think some of them may be getting more out of the treatment than I intend, but nothing untoward has happened. Although we have had some people email and phone us to ask if we do that kind of thing. If I wanted to jerk people off for money, I could do that without going through 3 years of school and paying annual professional dues. My spouse, who is also a therapist, had a teenage male client of hers reach his hand out to touch her thigh while she was standing next to the table, and she politely and firmly shut him down. That's about as bad as it's gotten so far. Story 12. Okay, so I am a massage therapist. I was working out of a gym and the guy asked for a 30-minute massage on his legs and abs because he was a runner. Nothing unusual about that request. So I finished massaging his legs and massaging his abs. I pull down the sheet to his hips so his abs are exposed. He is completely naked under the sheet, not unusual, but the sheet is covering his privates. As I am massaging his abs, he reaches his hand up to scratch his nose, but when his hand goes back down, he accidentally pulls down the sheet to expose his junk. I'm not bothered. I just pull the sheet back up over his junk and keep working. Then the sheet accidentally slipped down his hip again, exposing his dick again. I cover him up again and keep massaging his abs as that is what he asked for. Then it happens again. So this time I grabbed the sheet and tucked it under his hips this time and kept working without a word. He didn't try again. I continued as if nothing had happened, finished the massage like a professional, and sent him on his way. And thankfully he never came back.